I think the biggest myth of fasting is that people just say, well, that's not healthy. How can you do that? And when you think back of our earlier, you know, you didn't have all this food. I mean, truly, breakfast. Why they call it a breakfast? Because you were breaking the fast from. They had 3 meals a day. I remember when I was little, and my grandparents, you had a good breakfast, but you didn't eat and you didn't have all these snacks in between. Then you had a lunch, and then you would go and then you have dinner. You may have eat dinner early, right? You sit down as a family at 5 o'clock, whatever, and be done at 6. You didn't eat until you come around that next day. I mean, that's almost a 16-hour fast where you do with breakfast, right? So that's, I think, with the myth of people just completely forgotten about the fact that there was fasting, and if you could go even back earlier with early folks, they spent so much time working, trying to provide. They had to go out and find the wood and find the shelter and find a meal and work. And they weren't eating snacks all the time. Sometimes you may have a meal once a day, or what happens to go out and hunt and get an animal, maybe a couple, 3 or 4 days that people you talk about with, even the natives, the Indians that you read about that till they killed the buffalo, right? And everyone was able to partake and eat. I mean, that was a period of fasting, going without food. And your body's made to build to not be eaten constantly. And so, I think it's a big myth. I think it's the adversary's way of of causing us to be more overindulgence. I mean, to control our appetites, right? That's the thing that I've learned too on this fasting is it puts you closer to the Spirit, and if you can withhold from the fact of how I got to have that, I got to eat that, and these desires, it's just empowering. We're a thriving, the America and all these businesses, and they don't want you to fast. Look at all the eating places. The last thing they want you to do is to fast. I mean, every commercial you see is about food, and I think there's such an over commercialization here in America around food, and that mentally and socially it just that's just my perspective. I think that's one of the challenges, and probably why it's not as popular. I said the proof's in the pudding. Now it's fasting for everyone, and I even think those that are skinny, intermittent fasting, it's still again feeding the spiritual side of things, and if not, at least a once a month fast. And because think, what do we do to feed our spiritual side? I mean, there's things like reading and praying and things, but to really have a spiritual uplift and a strength, it comes through fasting.